Deep inside a climate-controlled server room, a supercomputer is currently processing millions of data points from a single object, a 14-foot strip of ancient linen. It's hunting for order in the chaos. Suddenly, the algorithm stops. It catches a signal. The AI has identified a repeating symmetrical signal embedded in the Shroud of Turin. This isn't a stain. It's a sequence. This discovery has forced physicists to ask a question they never thought they'd ask. Is the world's most famous religious relic actually a record of a nuclear-level event that physics can't legally explain yet? It wasn't paint. It was data. For years, the narrative was simple. This 14-feet-long cloth was a medieval hoax, a clever painting made to fool the masses. But here's the catch. When the AI analyzed the chaotic fibers of the linen, it stopped. It detected a signal. Beneath the faint, haunting image of the man, the computer found a repeating mathematical symmetry. This is a pattern that no medieval artist could have created. In fact, no known natural process can explain it. Basically, the AI found a digital ghost locked in the threads. To understand why this is such a game-changer, you have to look at the details. The image on the shroud is unbelievably superficial. It rests only on the very topmost microfibers of the linen threads. We are talking about a depth of just a few hundred nanometers. To put that in perspective, a single human hair is about 80,000 nanometers thick. This image is thinner than a soap bubble. The color doesn't soak into the cloth like paint, dye, or ink would. If you slice a thread crosswise, the center is white. The image sits on top like a scorch mark. There are no brush strokes. There is no directionality. It's more like the fibers themselves were chemically altered by a rapid burst of energy. When the AI looked at this, it didn't see art. It saw a data set. The neural networks performed a technique called principal component analysis. This is a fancy way of stripping away noise to find the core truth. What emerged was a field of information. The brightness and darkness of the image followed a precise, predictable rule, almost like a physical law of distance. Imagine a cloth being draped over a body. If you were to paint that, you would use shading to trick the eye, but the shroud doesn't use shading. The AI confirmed that the intensity of the image corresponds perfectly to the distance between the cloth and the body. The closer the cloth was to the skin, the darker the image. The farther away, the lighter. It's a perfect mathematical map. It gets crazier. The AI detected faint repeating symmetries and ratios throughout the body. Think of it like a musical harmony but for your eyes. The distance between the eyes, the proportions of the hands, the curvature of the ribs, they all obey an underlying geometric scaffolding. These patterns were invisible to the human eye for centuries, buried in the visual noise of the fabric's weave, but the AI saw them clearly. This suggests the image wasn't created by a human hand touching the cloth. A forger in the Middle Ages would have needed to be a master physicist, a mathematician, and a nanotechnologist to pull this off. They would have had to paint with invisible geometry. The AI essentially proved that the image behaves less like a drawing and more like a projection. Scientists are now faced with a mind-bending reality. The world's most famous relic might be a highly advanced piece of information technology created by a process we still don't understand. The AI didn't solve the age debate. It just made it irrelevant. Because even if this cloth is from the Middle Ages, how did they encode 3D data into linen fibers? It's like finding a QR code in a painting from the 1400s. It simply shouldn't be there. The AI has revealed that the shroud is not just a picture. It is a document containing verified data that we are only now developing the tools to read. But it goes deeper. The AI also analyzed the noise around the body. In a forgery, the background is usually empty or painted over. In the shroud, the AI found that the background contains data silence. It means the imaging process was selective. Whatever created the image only affected the cloth where the body was present, but it did so with a level of collimation, meaning the energy rays were perfectly parallel, which we can only achieve today with lasers. If you take a flashlight and shine it on a wall, the light spreads out. It gets fuzzy. The shroud image is not fuzzy. It is razor sharp at a microscopic level. This implies that the light or energy that made the image didn't spread out. It moved in a straight line, defying the inverse square law of physics. The AI flagged this as a physical anomaly. So, we are looking at a cloth that seems to have captured a moment where the laws of physics were temporarily suspended. The machine didn't just find a pattern. It found a map to something much darker that challenges the laws of thermodynamics, the map hidden in the scorch. So, here's the deal. To really grasp why this AI discovery is freaking everyone out, we have to look at the technology that came before it. The shroud has always been full of strange details that just don't add up. Let's go back to 1898. A lawyer named Secondo Pia takes the very first photograph of the shroud. He's in his darkroom developing the glass plate. He looks at the negative and he almost drops it. In the negative, the faint, blurry image on the cloth suddenly becomes a crystal-clear positive portrait. The image on the cloth was, in effect, a photographic negative centuries before photography was even invented. That alone is a detail that should make anyone pause. How do you paint a negative when the concept of a negative doesn't exist yet? A medieval artist paints what they see. They don't paint the inverted light values of a face so that 500 years later, a camera can reveal the true image. That would be like writing a book in binary code in the year 1300. But that was just the warm-up. Fast forward to the 1970s. A team of scientists from the Air Force Academy decided to run a photo of the shroud through a VP8 image analyzer. This wasn't a toy. This was a piece of hardware used by NASA to map the topography of the Moon and Mars. It turns brightness into height. If you put a normal photograph of a person, even a really good one, into a VP8, the result is a mess. The nose sinks into the face. The eyes bulge out. It looks distorted. That's because in a photo, light comes from the sun or a lamp, creating shadows that have nothing to do with depth. A shadow under a nose makes the nose look dark, which the machine interprets as deep. But when they put the shroud image into the VP8, it didn't distort. It created a perfect undistorted 3D relief of a human form. The scientists were stunned. The image contained accurate three-dimensional information. The darker parts were physically closer to the cloth, and the lighter parts were farther away. This is the puzzle that scientists have been stuck on for decades, a medieval date, but with seemingly futuristic technology embedded in the cloth. It's a total contradiction, and this is where the AI comes back in. The AI didn't just confirm the VP8 results, it refined them. The neural network stripped away the noise of the cloth weave and the burn marks from the fire of 1532. What was left was a topographic map of a human body that is anatomically flawless. The crazy part is the data shows that the body passes through the cloth. Let me explain. The image is consistent with a concept called volumetric projection. It's as if the body became radiant for a split second, and that radiation passed through the linen, leaving a scorch mark that recorded the distance. The AI found that this scorch is uniform. It doesn't penetrate the fibers. It sits on top. If an artist painted this, the paint would soak in. If a forger used a hot statue, the heat would burn through and spread sideways. But this image is precise, vertical, and incredibly high resolution. The AI analysis suggests that whatever formed this image acted in a straight line, completely ignoring gravity. Furthermore, the AI found something regarding the coins. You might have heard about this wild theory. Some researchers claim there are faint impressions of Roman coins, specifically Pontius Pilate leptons, placed over the eyes. For years, this was debated. The AI analysis enhanced the contrast of the orbital areas and found circular distortions that matched the size and shape of these coins. If this is true, it dates the shroud precisely to around 29 AD to 36 AD. A medieval forger wouldn't know to put rare first-century coins over the eyes, nor would they be able to paint them so faintly that they are only visible with 21st century computer enhancement. The AI also analyzed the blood. And get this, it's not paint. It is real human blood, type AB. But the weird thing is the condition of the blood. The AI analysis of the color spectrum shows that the blood is still reddish. Blood usually turns brown or black over time due to oxidation. The fact that it is still red suggests the presence of high levels of biliverdin, a chemical the body produces under extreme physical stress and torture. But more importantly, the blood was on the cloth before the image was formed. The AI can see that under the bloodstains, there is no image. This means the blood soaked in and then the flash happened. If it were a painting, the artist would have had to paint the blood first, then paint the negative image around the blood without overlapping. That is technically impossible for a human hand. The AI has effectively taken the painting theory and thrown it out the window. It simply doesn't fit the data. We are looking at a cloth that acts more like a piece of photographic film that was exposed to a type of radiation we don't usually encounter in nature. The implications are huge. If this is a recording of an event, then something physically happened to that body that released a massive amount of energy. The AI is seeing the remnants of that energy signature. The timeline was about to break because the cloth was hiding a secret patch that fooled the world. Why the textbooks were wrong. Everyone thought the story ended in 1988.